Just for like the layman, can you, like somebody who maybe doesn't know what this is, can you briefly explain like what is sex magic? How exactly does it work? Like how would you explain that just simply?
Yeah. Well, sex magic, it's a form of witchcraft, right? It's direct rebellion to God. And, there were different ways to perform sex magic. You don't necessarily have to be having sex with a
Mhm.
boyfriend or partner to be doing it. Like you can do it yourself. And what they would teach in like tantra and stuff is like using your own body and your breath to like heighten your emotions and then cast visions with it, right? And like write, in your journal, like how much money you want to make or what you want to manifest, and really using
Yeah.
like you're essentially giving consent to demons through your sexual energy for them to harvest on your sexual energy through your orgasms. And
Yeah.
you think that you're like gaining all this power and you're doing all these things. And like before you know it, I was doing extremely dark magic with like menstrual blood. Like, and the
Yep.
scariest part is that it was all actually working.
Mm.
Like it actually does work, and it's so scary because that's how Satan baits you in. So, yeah,
Yeah.
just giving consent to demons to harvest your sexual energy.
No, and that's interesting that you said that because a lot of the times at these rituals and weekend retreats, Kundalini yoga was a part of it.
Yep.
So you're using the breath, bringing the breath up the chakras. You think that this is like cleansing and opening your chakras and healing your traumas. But looking back, I realized you're really bringing demons up. And it's a similar kind of thing when you're doing the sex magic rituals. Like you said, it doesn't always have to include like sex or sex with a partner. Sometimes it was just breathing together. We
Yeah.
did this a lot. It would be like two women, like sitting crisscross applesauce, like legs around each other, like breathing together, lifting the breath up, 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 and like out the crown chakra to manifest, like you said, healing or whatever it is that you wanted, your dreams, goals, desires, all of this stuff. So I definitely saw some really crazy rituals. Without getting like too graphic, do you want to share just like some of what you saw? We can kind of share a little bit of the rituals and like what that kind of looks like. I did just share one of them, but there's a bunch of them.
Yeah. There's so many. And it's just, before sharing it, I just want to say, like, I like it was direct teaching from demons. Like
Yeah.
I was literally being directly taught by these like sexual demons that were like harvesting. And I thought that like I was super disconnected and I was being taught these things because I was like ready to learn them, you know what I'm saying? And like
Yeah.
it just became so normalized. And um so like it really just started out with like seeing people use their like put their menstrual blood like on their face and just say like, oh, it's good for like the stem cells and like this and that. And like that was really edgy, right? It was like
Mhm,
super
mhm.
edgy to do that, but I was like, yeah, I did that. And I just remember like feeling this like power when I did that. And
Yeah.
then I always had an altar in my room, and I always had like Ganesh on the altar, and I would put like roses because I was like in the rose lineage, right? Like I was just the divine feminine, all that. So I
Yeah.
would actually save my menstrual blood all in a mason jar when I was menstruating. And then
Mhm.
once I was done, I would go outside and take the mason jar and pour it into the earth and like say like this is for the goddess, like
Yep.
like just offering that. And
I
then
did that too.
yeah, it's, like, so sick, like, thinking about it,
Yeah.
it's like I must have looked like a sicko, like,
Yeah.
doing these things, and, um you know what I'm
I
saying?
had I had roommates at the time too who weren't into the same kind of things that I was. They were like these military guys and they're always like, "What is she like
What?
what is she doing?" But I mean, they just kind of knew I was a little out there.
Yeah, no, it was, like, so out there, and, like, I had, like, normal people that were following me on Instagram because I would post things on Instagram and, like, there are people that knew me from, like, before I got even deeper, and they're like, "Are you okay? Like, do you
Yeah.
need help?" Like, and I'm like, "They don't understand, like, I'm awakening to this, like, magic," and,
Yes.
like, so, like, that's, like, one thing that I would do, and I would also use, some of the blood, and I would, like, go in the shower when I was bleeding, and I would, like, use the blood and put it in my diary and, like, write how much
Yeah.
money I wanted to make my business, and it was, like, sick, like, my diary was, like, filled with, like, blood, and it was just, like,
Yes.
you know,
Yep, I
like,
did that
what
before
on
too.
earth? Like,
I remember writing out what I wanted, and then I followed a
yeah,
YouTube video, and they had you draw a little now I know it's a satanic symbol, but at the time it was like, "Oh, just like this star," and then you dot the blood in it, and
yeah.
I would bury these notes in the earth as well.
See, it's like, what, like, that is straight from a demon. Like, there is,
Yeah,
like, it was demons teaching you how to do that.
yeah. And did you ever do, like, weekend retreat sorta things with other women doing these things?
So I was more like into, like, I don't think I've ever gone to like a women's retreat. Like, I was like the
Mhm.
one kind of, I would do it like online, like, because I had my business going online. So like I would teach my clients this in like one-to-one sessions, and then like the friends that I had that were also like witches and stuff, like we would do this stuff together. Like, my
Yeah.
friend once made like this tincture with her blood in it, and she gave me it, and I was like, it was just so ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think maybe God kinda protected you from that because going in person to these kind of events, like, and going back to the idea of what even leads people into the new age practices and these kind of occult practices is you want to heal. You think like you are already coming as a traumatized person, like with this sexual trauma a lot of times like we talked about. You're wanting to heal and then you're coming into this space with these teachings from demons and it's this false gospel that this is going to be what heals you and it just makes the trauma worse because for me, like, I was going into these places just, like, knowing I was a deeply broken person,
Yeah.
and the way that the demons, like, they just don't play fair, I can remember one of the rituals, um, it's so crazy, we were broken off into groups, and now my guru at the time started welcoming men into the space, and it used to be just women, but now there's men in the space, because, the whole divine feminine, divine
Yeah,
masculine.
need that
Exactly.
wholeness.
Yes, and so, like, the main teaching going back to I don't know, have you ever heard of ISTA, the
Yeah,
International School
oh
of
my god,
Herbal Art?
I was so close to going to ISTA, but something always felt so, there was like a block, like it felt off to me.
Yes, so my guru went regularly to, like, all of these, and she would bring the teachings back to us, and then we would live it out
My god.
in Phoenix, Arizona, and so one of the rituals was saying your desires, fears, and boundaries, in this little group that you were in, and so I remember being in a group with these people, and literally, I just wanted them to look at me like they were my parents. I had a guy and a girl, and I said, "I just want you to look at me like I'm a baby and like you're my parents and you love me." And because, like, I'm genuinely, like, I wanna heal, like, I didn't
Yeah,
get that parental love, so I just have, like, this not that I was, like, oh, so wholesome, but
yeah,
next thing I know, around me, there's, like, dominatrix, like, people are getting flogged, like, it was just, like, this crazy, like, circus going on around me, and I'm like, "Okay, what has this thing become?" Like, I thought I was
yeah.
here for healing, and then the next part of this is, like, womb healing. I remember, like,
Oh,
the
yeah.
the sexual practices getting so dark, and when women would start to cry, the guru lady was like, "You're ready for womb healing," and really all this was and not to get like, so graphic because this just sounds it's literally pornographic, but,
Yeah.
she would finger them, and this was called womb healing, and she would call it womb healing, and they would keep crying, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh," like, looking back, it's just so twisted, you know? And that's probably, like, the dark extent, but then on, like, the lighter end of it, it would be, like, painting the yonis and, like, putting it
Yeah,
on like, stamping them on paper. Like, there was some more, like, mild things, but then there was some really dark end of the things as well, and I look back and I just think about these demons just, like, laughing and watching and getting pleasure and
Yeah.
provoking even more trauma. Like, these are extra traumatic
Yeah.
memories, you know?